we're continuing in our sub-series in G major, and we're going to look at an entirely new hymn for us. And this is the hymn Grace Greater Than Our Sin. I'll put the link in the description below, but if you have a Living Hymns hymn book, it's number 821. It's in that back section, so flick to the last hymn, then flick past the index, and then you'll find the extra hymns. That's where it's found. So this hymn is in G major, and we have some opportunities in this hymn to insert a G7 chord, which is why I picked it. Our other two G major hymns, we can't really. So your technical work for this week is to continuing playing your G major scale, hands together 1 octave, your F major scale, hands together 1 octave, and your C major scale, hands together 1 octave. For your theory homework, you will go through the hymn, Grace Greater Than Our Sin, and you look to identify the G major chords, the C major chords, and any F major chords, which I imagine there aren't. You will put, if it's in root position, first inversion or second inversion, so you write G major, and put it 1 or 2 if it's a first inversion or a second inversion. You write that above the chord, and then underneath the chord you'll write whether it's a 1 chord in G major, a 4 chord in G major, or a 5 chord in G major. So to review those, in the key of G major, our 1 chord is going to be G major. Our 4 chord is based on the 4th note of the G major scale, so G, A, B, C. So our 4 chord is C major, and our 5 chord, based on the 5th note of the G major scale, our 5 chord is a D major chord. We might take a moment just to briefly explain a D major chord so that you can look for it with confidence when you do your theory assessment. So D major chord, constructed the same way as our other chord. So it has a D on the bottom, then a third above that it has an F sharp, and then a third above that it has an A. So D major chord is comprised of D, F sharp and A. And obviously if we have a D on the bottom, it's going to be in root position. If our next note, the F sharp, if that's at the bottom of the chord, that's in first inversion, and then our third note, A, if that's on the bottom, that's a second inversion. So it works exactly the same as all our other chords. So let's add in the D major chord. Have a look for it in this hymn. If you can find any, write it in. And of course, finally, you'll be playing the hymn. So our approach is the same. You'll play your melody and your alto in your right hand, and then in the left hand you take the bass note and you'll play it as an octave. So you'll double the bass note and you'll play the hymn like that. And our focus in this series of lessons has been not only to play the hymn, but also to do some work in improvisation. So you want to look for an opportunity to do some melodic improvisations, and secondly, you're going to look for a chance to insert the G7 chord. And remember, when we insert a G7 chord in G major, we're looking for a 1 chord followed by a 4 chord. So I do suggest that you do your theory analysis first and go through and write down the names of your chords, and then look for a 1 chord followed by a 4 chord, and then see if perhaps you can insert a G7 chord there. And a G7 chord is built of G, B and D, and then we add in the 7th note of the G major scale, which is an F sharp, and then we lower it by a semitone to an F natural. So it becomes G, B, D and F natural. And I'll jump on the piano and we'll look at some melodic improvisations and inserting a G7, but then you go ahead and you experiment and see what you can do with the hymn to make it your own. And good luck. And so on and so forth. So let's have a look at putting in some melodic improvisations. So again, we're looking for when the melody kind of comes to a pause and there's a longer amount of time where people are just sitting on a note, and that's a good place to try and put in some improvisation. So if we look at the hymn, people sing "Marvelous Grace of Our Loving Lord," and on Lord, that would be the first place we could put in something. So there we can just do a little run. Lord ends on a G, and then the next melody note is an F sharp, which is one step down. So what we can do after we play the G on Lord, we can simply go a few notes higher and do a little run or a little scale down to the next melody note of F sharp. So we can go 2 notes up to the B and then just run down and then land on grace. So that you can hear that again. And there you go, you can put that in. If we keep going, our sin and our guilt. This one's kind of there's an easy, obvious one here. Guilt ends on B. And then our next melody note is a G, which is only 2 steps down. So we can do, again, a little connecting melodic run from the B down to the G. So, see how you go with that. There's lots and lots and lots of things that you can do with this. I'm just giving you a couple of simple suggestions, but take them on board and develop your own improvisations and what works for you or what you can hear in your ear, and try and kind of figure it out on the piano and then practice it so you can play it really smoothly and well with the hymn. The second thing we would be looking at is inserting our G7 chord. So we're looking for a G chord that's followed by the 4th chord, which in this key is a C major chord. And see if you spotted this when you did your theory homework. If we look at the chorus, it starts with grace, grace, both G's, and then it sings God's grace. Now God, even though the G is on the bottom, it's a C major chord, and if it's got a G on the bottom, it means it's a C major chord in 2nd inversion. And you can hear it's different to the G. So we can sing grace, grace, and then here's our C chord, God's, and then back to G chord on grace. So probably the easiest way to insert the G7 chord is to play grace, and then on that 2nd grace, play your G chord with the F natural, and then play your C chord on God's, and then we're back to the G chord on grace. So I'll play that for you one more time. So we have, I'll name the chords as we go. G, G7, C, and then back to G. And you can see that sounds really nice. It connects really well together. I'll play the hymn now, and hopefully that will give you some ideas, but feel free to come up with your own improvisations and things that work for you along the lines of what we've discussed. And hopefully I'll hear some of you playing this hymn. I'm looking forward to that.